Yeah, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Know Before You Go webinar in anticipation of the Farnborough International Airshow coming up next month in Farnborough, England. Thank you very much for taking the time to join us today. We hope we cover a lot of the nuts and bolts information that you need to know to make the show successful for your companies. We think we will have anticipated all of the different types of issues that may come up in terms of questions or concerns you might have. But we do have the Q&A chat available to you. So during the course of the webinar, if anything occurs to you that you have a question or need a clarification, please enter it into the Q&A, and then we'll either address it immediately or come back to it at the end of the webinar. So next slide, please. Today's agenda, we're going to just cover some of the stats of the pavilion to let you know how things are coming along and who you'll be joining when you get to Farnborough, and then going through the logistics of the timetable of build-up and the operation of the show, and some of the travel and parking issues that come up, and a big focus on your safety during the show. Also, things like on-site storage and how you use our shipping company. And then we're going to go into some of the features and programs at the USA Partnership Pavilion that may be of interest to you, introduce you to your full Farnborough team here at Kallman Worldwide, and then open it up for questions and answers. So next slide, please. So you can see by the numbers, we are big as always at Farnborough. In fact, the largest national participation in the show. Proud of that record that we maintain there, with 234 companies participating in the USA Partnership Pavilion. Additional companies scattered throughout the show, working with their partners and international collaborators, so that a total of 416 companies from the United States will be represented at the Farnborough Airshow. You can see some of the other stats. Really proud of the 33 states that are represented, 17 of which will have formal pavilions at the show. Also very proud of our creative services team that's building almost 2,000 square meters of customized exhibit stands at the event. Next slide, please. I'd like to introduce Courtney Serpico, who is our operations manager here at Kallman Worldwide, and she's going to walk you through, again, many of the logistical aspects of the show that you'll want answers to as you prepare to head off to Farnborough in a month. So Courtney, over to you.
Thank you, Peter. Next slide. So on opening day, exhibitors will be allowed to access the halls from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and attendees or visitors will be able to access the halls from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. On the trade days, which are July 23rd to the 25th, exhibitors will be able to access the halls from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and attendees from 9 a.m. to 5:30. The 26th will be a public access day. So I would suggest possibly planning on being on your booth at that time. This year, for the badges, they're done differently, where in the past they were hard plastic and you would have to pick them up at a tent on site. You're now able to print them at home. We do suggest that you print a few copies because they are paper copies and sometimes they can go missing. You will only be allowed on site if you have your pass. You cannot show up to site and get your passes printed. For the Wi-Fi, there is Wi-Fi available in the venue for free, as well as in our meeting point lounge. Next slide. During the build-up, we suggest that those who have large booths with lots of product, or those who are shipping in large crates, arrive on site on Friday, July 19th to empty your crates. All crates must be moved off the floor at 7 p.m. on Friday, as the aisle carpet and cleaning will start to commence on the 20th. On July 21st, there will be a rehearsal day, and just note that there is no building, painting, or doing anything after Friday. Next slide. As Peter had mentioned, you will receive these slides at the end of this presentation. So please take note of all of the different transportation options there are to get to Farnborough. Next slide. And here's a little bit more information, and next slide. So this slide shows where the gates are compared to the venue. We're located primarily in halls 2 and 3 with a couple of our exhibitors in hall 4. If you are accessing gate A through using a Rushmore taxi, you will come in through gate A, and it's anywhere from a 5 to 10 minute walk to hall 1. Next slide. Here's additional information, which is very important. If you've purchased a parking pass to park on the venue site, those come into effect on July 21st. If you are coming via Uber, taxi, or a car service that does not have a parking pass, you will be directed to the Queen's Parade. From the Queen's Parade, you will be able to take the free shuttle that will drop you off at either Gate B or Hall 4. There's additional information on the times for the Queen's Parade, so please make note of those times. Next slide. In case of a medical emergency, please call 999. There is also a medical tent on site by Gate E, and if you need assistance with getting to the medical tent, please contact the security staff, the show organizer, or anybody at Kallman. We will be happy to help you get there. In case of small medical emergencies, we will have Band-Aids, ice packs, and a heart defibrillator on site at booth 3050, which is our Kallman meeting point. We are happy to help and give you whatever assistance you need. Please note that if you arrive on Friday, you will be required to have steel-toed boots as well as a vest. But starting on Saturday, you can wear your sneakers or any closed-toed shoes. Next slide. If you have excess stock or literature or packing cases, please make sure that they are not stored behind or around your booth because the show will have them removed. If you require on-site storage, please contact SEVA at the below information. If you're shipping any freight with another carrier, please make sure to contact SEVA to have your empties placed into storage. If you have shipped in large crates that have been removed on Friday, July 19th, you will start to receive your crates on Saturday, July 27th. So please make sure you have proper plans in place for your team. If you've hand carried in any items, you are allowed to carry them out on July 26th. Next slide. If you have any more questions, please feel free to contact me. My email is listed here. It is courtneys@kallman.com. Now back to Peter.
All right. Thank you, Courtney. And now we want to cover just some aspects of the Partnership Pavilion, both in terms of physical layout and some of the programmatic elements that we have planned for you. So next slide, please. Those of you who have been to Farnborough before know that it's an incredible venue for air shows. It forms a natural amphitheater up a hill, and then you can view down at the runway there. But the halls themselves are built one kind of behind the other up the hill. We start the US Pavilion in Hall 2, which is then connected by a covered walkway into Hall 3, and we have big areas of both of the tents there, the temporary structures, as well as some of our exhibitors are in Hall 4, which is at the very top of the hill there at Farnborough. Inside of Hall 3, which is kind of the geographic center of all three of the halls that we occupy, we have our meeting point and forum, and then 4 of the conference rooms that we have available for use by exhibitors on a scheduled basis, as well as 2 more you'll see in Hall 2. Next slide, please. This is just sort of an overhead rendering of what that meeting point is going to look like, but it is exactly, as it says on the box, the meeting point. It's where not only you can come and bring your guests and sit down and continue a conversation that you might have started in your booth, have a cup of coffee, have a soda, have a cold water. We do have light snacks throughout the day. But also it is the meeting point where delegations will come that are visiting the pavilion, and it's sort of the action center of the entire pavilion, and there'll always be Kallman staff there, so that not only to serve your immediate needs in the meeting point, but to answer questions that you might have, or situations that might arise at your booth. So just take note of where that's located on the show floor. Also, as I mentioned, the conference rooms, it's a shared amenity that we do have a number of them available, but we can only book them for increments of a half hour, and book them on the morning of each day of the show, because we know people's plans change and pop-up meetings come up. So we try to be as flexible as possible by booking them there and then. Next slide, please. We're also reprising a part of the show that we introduced in 2022, where we have actually created a real live English pub adjacent to the chalet structure that we have, that is immediately outside of the exhibit halls down by level or hall 2. And in it, full-on service down there, everything from Pimm's to beers to dartboard and crisps, which is the English way of saying potato chips. It's going to be open from 12 noon every morning or every afternoon till 5. And we will be giving you some complimentary tokens to use for drinks down there. And again, like the meeting point, feel free to bring your friends. Next slide. Some of the pavilion services that we offer are listed here. As I've mentioned, the meeting point, how you can book conference rooms, etc. This slide will be made available to you, as Courtney mentioned at the end, and we'll have a book actually at the meeting point that you can come up to and see which meeting spaces are available, and what events might have popped up either on the forum stage or in the Queen and Eagle pub, day by day by day. So next slide, please. As I mentioned, at the meeting point, we have light snacks and start the day with some pastries and that sort of thing. But for a substantive meal, there are a number of places that you can eat at Farnborough, both in the show at large, where there's food trucks and so on. In Hall 1 at the front, there's sort of a large restaurant area that's kind of casual seating. Above that, there's a formal restaurant that you can book tables at. But then also, next slide, closer to home, there are cafe and restaurant facilities located right within each of the halls that we're utilizing at the show. Next slide, please. One of the things that we will be doing throughout the week is utilizing every type of connection available through the internet to both keep you informed of any changes to programs or any events that are popping up, but also to just publicize to the planet what all is happening there at Farnborough in the U.S. Pavilion, and supporting your efforts to sell product. We encourage you to also put references to what you're doing during the week on your own LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram, or other company accounts. And please do then refer back to the hashtags for the U.S. Pavilion, and let's just keep the dialogue going, in support of what we're all trying to achieve at the show. Next slide. So along those lines of using all the means of communication available to us, Kallman Worldwide is very proud of the platform that we're using in partnership with sister company sourcehere.com. Proprietary software made to do what Kallman Worldwide has always been doing, and that is connecting people, throughout the world, throughout time zones. This is an online platform that is there to help you promote your products and services to would-be customers, not only at Farnborough, but well before Farnborough and even after the show closes. Source Here lives on, and I'm happy to introduce our colleague Irina, that's going to talk you through a little bit more about what Source Here is and what you can be doing to help yourself by utilizing this great tool. Irina?
Thank you, Peter. Hello, everybody. Probably you've had either emails from me, or I've been lucky enough to have some of you on some webinars that were specific to Source Here. So hopefully either my name or my face is not new to you. I'm the Customer Success Manager at sourcehere.com, and we encourage all of you to really take control of your page. Every single one of you has a company profile on Source Here. It's already open. You just need to log in and make sure that you've updated everything ahead of Farnborough. So that is your company details, your products and services. Very, very important that you upload these, your team members, and that you've also selected who is actually attending Farnborough so that people can get in touch with them. And also, if you have any news that you'd like to share, you can do so on the platform too. And as always, any issues with the platform or anything you want to ask, you can get a hold of me. I'm going to pop my email in the chat. So hopefully you already have my email. So here I am for all questions and all help to do with Source Here. Thank you, Peter.
And thank you, Irina. And next slide, please. As we mentioned, the portal is already open, and people are using it to make connections and schedule meetings from literally all over the world. And Farnborough is known for being a global event. It happens to be hosted in the UK, but it's much more than only doing business with British companies or the British government. Delegations are coming from all over, and each of you main exhibitors will have access through your exhibitor portal to make selections on which of the delegations are of most interest to you, whether military or civil, and then you can kind of rank order and give justifications for why you want to meet with those delegations. I will say, and I'll emphasize this as strongly as I can, you won't see any if you don't request them to begin with. Requesting them doesn't guarantee you'll get them, but not requesting them guarantees you won't. So if you could get in there before July 5th, that's where you can start making those international requests. You see a deadline of the 12th for UK requests, both in terms of UK MOD and civil delegations. Now, having said all of that, we as the Partnership Pavilion will also get sort of drop-by delegations where a delegation that hasn't necessarily followed the program or hasn't received specific requests will come and say, we have a half hour to tour the pavilion. Who should we see? So we do encourage you to also let us know, Kallman Worldwide, which delegations are of most interest to you, so that if they do come to the meeting point asking to have a tour, we can keep you in mind as spots that we should bring them to. Next slide, please. So walking you through some of the events that we have planned, the official opening ceremony of the overall show takes place around 10:30 in the morning on Monday, the 22nd. We are anticipating that some high-level government people from the UK will be there. So they've asked that guests be in position by 10 a.m. For a 10:30 start. We are assured, those of you that are following UK politics, that anybody who is likely to become prime minister has this on their schedule and will be coming to this event, and or some of the other cabinet officials that will be with them. Immediately following that, we will have the USA Partnership Pavilion opening ceremony, where our guest of honor is the ambassador to the UK, Jane Hartley. Because of the little bit of flexibility that's needed for the timing on the official opening, ours might vary by 10 minutes or so at the start, but we will ask that everybody be ready to go at 11 a.m. for that opening ceremony. It's a brief ceremony, but we get some great speakers, and it's a great opportunity for you to get together with all of the DVs, distinguished visitors that are coming from Washington, D.C., and it is a very robust group coming this year. Following through, there's other events through that day, the official Farnborough welcome reception that the show itself is hosting. You're able to purchase tickets again through your portal site there. And then those of you that are attending the AIA's industry reception will also have a way of purchasing tickets and going to that event. Next slide, please. I'm not going to walk you through every single aspect of what's happening every single day, but as we keep referring, we will make this slide and all of them available to you at the end of the presentation. And it is likely that things are going to evolve a bit in the days and weeks ahead as further events are added or modified depending on who might change their travel plans. But the idea of this program of events is to provide all of our exhibitors with value-added information and thought leadership on topics of interest to them. It covers everything from sustainable aviation through to supply chain issues and everything in between. So we very, very much encourage all of you to take advantage of these programs, both to network with other exhibitors and to hopefully learn some things about topics that directly impact your bottom line. Again, next slide. The program continues through the whole week. We may still have a couple of slots available for individual company presentations, particularly towards the latter part of the week. And I'll introduce Erica to you later. She can take your reservations for any presentations that you might want to still schedule for later in the week. Next slide, please. One of the things that you'll notice on that latter portion of the week is the FMS briefing. We're having two of those this session or this Farnborough. One is going to be a FMS section on what has changed just recently in the way that FMS, foreign military sales, are conducted. And then this one on Thursday is going to be really down nuts and bolts for those of you that are using the system, introducing you to who you need to know to make it work for you. The forum will remain open right on through the end of the day on Friday. And we don't schedule anything for Friday because we know that people do tend to start drifting off by the end of the week. But should you wish to give a presentation and have your own audience that you want to bring there, feel free to use it that day as well. Next slide. So if you guys are Team USA coming to Farnborough, here is both your coaching staff, your cheerleaders, and your support staff for the team, led by our CEO, Tom Kallman, our project manager, Carolyn Carnio. You all know Mike Petrassi, who has kind of talked with a lot of you about the stand space that you're occupying or the chalet space, and then it cascades there down from there of many Kallman employees coming over. We are going to be out and about throughout the whole pavilion, identified by our Kallman badges. Feel free to flag any one of us down at any hour of the day with any questions you might have, and we'll be able to funnel it through to the right person to find you an answer. So next slide there. One of the things that Farnborough, as I mentioned, being a global event, you have a lot of chances to meet, particularly with European delegations coming through, both military and civil. And here are just some names that you might want to take note of countries, specialists in each of the larger countries in Europe that you might want to get in touch with in advance if you have any questions about a particular country's plans or how you might best meet an agent or distributor in one of those countries, etc. And there are plenty of other commercial specialists around Europe would be happy to connect you with if you want us to. Next slide, please. So it just leads me to begin to conclude here by thanking all of our partners that make all of these programs and the pavilion a success. And we want to thank all of them for their continued support of the USA Partnership Pavilion at Farnborough. Next slide. Mike Petrassi is going to have a special special offer for you for the 2026 Farnborough edition. It's not too soon to already be thinking 2 years from now as to coming back and continuing the success that you have in 2024. He is going to offer a special deal to you immediately following this presentation. In fact, be expecting an email from Mike with instructions on how you can join the queue to become part of the USA Pavilion in Farnborough 2026, locked in with the prices that are charged this year, when inevitably there's going to be some increase on Farnborough's part for 26. Thank you, Mike. Next slide, please. All right. This is the point where we will circle back and try to answer any questions whatsoever that may be outstanding that we were not able to cover in either the presentation or in the Q&A chat. Carolyn, I'm going to ask if you could come in now with any of those questions that you'd like to raise to the group, or at this point, we can also encourage any of you that are listening in to add those last questions that you might have.
I don't see any questions that remain unanswered. If you do have a question, please raise your hand and we'll unmute you and you can go ahead and ask your question. I saw a question pop up. Can we share everybody's email? Yes, we can do that. Absolutely. We'll send it when we send the presentation after this event is over.
No. Again, Carolyn, I'd just like to Erica Marino is the one to get any information about programmatic elements of what's happening in the forum. I mentioned her before, but we'll send her email address along with everybody else's to the group.
I see Alan Dillingham has a question. I believe I unmuted you.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, I just had a question. We print out our badges, but where do we get our lanyards?
You can pick up your USA lanyards at our Meeting Point Lounge, which is booth 3050. It is in Hall 3. And we will also be handing out your welcome packet with information.
Okay, so we need to show, we have our paper badges, we show those to get in, and then we get the lanyards at booth 3050?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Diego Padilla, do you have a question?
Yes, hi, good morning, everybody. Well, thank you so much for all of the valuable information. I did have a question about some of the activities that are happening around the air show. For example, there's one called Urban and Advanced Air Summit on 25 July. And are we included in those, or are those things that we have to book if we're getting emails? I think there's a few, like a Future Air and Travel, different kind of events that I'm getting emails from. Is that included for us because we are exhibiting, or is that, I'm not sure why I'm getting those, basically.
But yeah, I'll step in to say that the Farnborough organizers of the overall show have a huge number of events and activities that they're planning, focusing on, as you said, future air mobility, on outer space, on different topics. I'm not sure exactly how individual U.S. exhibitors are connected to sign up to be part of that. And Courtney, is that something that is in the exhibitor portal?
I didn't realize I was muted. I will have to double check on that, and I will get back to you.
Yeah.
Can
Perfect.
you
Thank you
please,
so much.
if you could send me the email that you received,
Yes.
I'd be happy to look into that for you. My email address is Carolyn, CAROLYNC @Kallman.com.
Okay, perfect, Carolyn. Okay, sounds good. No problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Kenneth Staton, do you have a question? Erica, I don't think I'm able to unmute him.
It looks like Kenneth, you're on mute.
Sorry about
Oh,
that.
there you go.
Okay.
There you go.
I have not seen our badges yet. It might be an issue on our end with a new IT spam software and stuff that they have launched. Could I get somebody to resend that email?
So we don't have access to your badges, but if you log into your Farnborough eNet and
Okay.
go to passes and parking and then register, I think it's like register my team.
Okay.
It'll say already registered and you can download them into a PDF from there.
Perfect. Thank you.
No problem.
Does anybody else have a question? I don't see any hands raised currently. Oh, Alan, there we go. Alan Ralph?
Unmuted. Yeah. Sorry.
There you go.
Courtney. Yeah. Yeah. We just. I think we might need to order because we've got a shell scheme booth, so we might need to order some more furniture. I think. Do we order it with you guys or with one of the site people?
Yeah, Alan, if you want, why don't you put your email in the chat or your phone number and I can give you a call after this meeting just to confirm
Okay.
what you need.
Yeah, I can do that. Okay.
Wonderful. Thanks, Alan.
Yeah.
I do want to bring up another point that I forgot to mention during the presentation, that if you do have a car service that is bringing you to the venue and planning to drive in and drop you off and either leave or park, your driver will also need an exhibitor pass to get onto the site. So just double check and make sure all of your drivers have their correct badging so that you are not stopped at the gate and then are forced to walk.
Thank you, Courtney. There's another question from Erin Sweeney.
Let's see. So,
Hi.
So my question was actually about the car services. I was wondering if you guys had any recommendations about services that we could use like for the full week. I know on the transportation page you had like taxi services. I just didn't know if it's possible from them to like book for the full week. And I'm having a hard time finding companies in the UK that will do that.
Peter, do you happen to know anybody?
Uh,
Oh, this is Alan, by the way. I think I don't know who was speaking, but there's a company we used last time that were pretty good. Well, it's like one of those companies that organize with multiple companies. It's called Taxi Code. Let me see if I can taxicode.com. You register with them. Taxicode.com. Yeah.
Aaron, this is Mike Petrassi here. I have a few recommendations I'll be happy to email your way following this presentation.
Oh, that would be perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
right.
They worked good for us last time.
Good to
Thank you
know.
so much, Alan. That's
No
appreciated.
problem.
Tori Foster, do you have a question? Tori, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Thank you so much for this. This has been really helpful. I just had a follow-up question about reserving a space in booth 3050, the meeting space. I know that you said you can do it on the day of and it's only in increments of 30 minutes, but is our team supposed to stop by every morning and just reserve the time that they need, or is there a link to reserve a time the day of? How do we actually reserve it?
Tori, yeah, if you come to booth 3050, you can reserve even if you just come and see me one time, we can reserve your meetings for the rest of the week.
Okay.
So you don't have to come up every day. We can take care of you. Let's say I see you on Sunday. We could put your times in from Monday through Thursday.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
No problem.
And just a reminder to everybody that because it is a shared amenity with so many companies, in the pavilion, we do have to limit it to 1 hour a day. And so we've said this half-hour increment. It could be 2 half hours, or we could jam them together and have 1 full hour. But we find that an hour is a long time to have a meeting during a trade show with people just running back and forth and up and down and going, on different things. So a half hour might be all you end up really needing. The other thing is that we please ask you that, if you've gone ahead and you've reserved some time, and anything happens where that meeting is not going to happen, can you please let us know so that we can make that same facility available to somebody else? That would be really appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. There's another question from Rebecca from Astronics. If you could unmute yourself and ask your question. Rebecca, are you there? Mic not working.
Oh.
Okay, Rebecca, if you could type your question into the Q&A, somebody will be able to answer you there.
Hi, Rebecca. I see your message about if you are sending a small package, do you have to use a specific freight forwarder or carrier, or can we FedEx it to the show? I would strongly suggest not using FedEx or UPS. If you are shipping any materials from the US to the UK, FedEx and UPS do not clear customs for you, so your package will get stuck in customs. I would suggest either a freight forwarder or using DHL to ship directly to your hotel or wherever you're staying.
Very good advice.
Okay.
One of the things that think about this, if you address something to your exhibit stand, that stand doesn't even exist. It's not even built until a few days before the show. So even if they could get on site to deliver it, it doesn't exist. So best to use the official shipper wherever possible. And then for any last minute, printed documents or whatever you might need, if you can have them waiting for you at your hotel, that is definitely the safest way to do it.
Thank you, Peter. Ed Lachlan, do you still have a question?
Yes, I do. And thank you for all this. Great job. But I asked a little bit earlier about connections from the Farnborough, Maine rail station, and I've gotten 2 conflicting answers. One person said, oh, it's a short distance you can walk. And then another one said there is a public bus system and special roads that will take you. And I'd like clarification on that. And what gate, if you know, do they drop us off at?
Well, I can jump in, having been to Farnborough a number of times. If you come to Farnborough, Maine, it's probably like a mile hike from there to the entrance of the show. So I would recommend that you take the free shuttle buses that are constantly in rotation between the station and the show. When they say special roads, they've literally closed off certain lanes so that only those buses can use them coming from the station to the show site. It's very, very convenient, and compared to any other surface transport coming and going to Farnborough, the train is going to be your best bet, as opposed to driving if it's at all possible. I know some of your senior execs, will want to come in cars, but the traffic to and from London can be daunting. And if you are able to join that train from Waterloo Station, right in the central part of London, it shoots right out to Farnborough, and you jump on the free shuttle bus, and it brings you into the show. In terms of which gate, they used to drop off at what was called Dairy Gate, which is the bridge over the road that will kind of put you right at the bottom of Hall 1. Courtney, I'm not sure if that's the case this year as well, but something maybe we can circulate in advance of the show to everybody of specifically where that bus is dropping off.
Thank you for that. I was worried about the answer of it's a short walk. So good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I will chime in with something else here. You know, it's kind of a joke about what do the British talk to each other about, and inevitably it's the weather. And the reason that they talk about it is it can change on a dime, and it often does. We have had certain Farnborough air shows that were literally inundated with water. And, you know, when I talked before about it being down a hill, we had streams coming down, through the show from the tremendous amounts of rain one year. Last year, or in 2022, it was broiling hot with highs of near to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. And people were just, really broiling. So my recommendation, always carry an umbrella. And you can use that umbrella as you're walking from where the bus drops you off to get into the show. You can use it as shade should it be hot, but bring something with you. And as far as packing goes, it is a very formal show, suit and tie for men, business attire for ladies as well. But kind of think in terms of layers, think in terms of you might need different seasons all in the same day. What I would also, right before you set off for the UK, log on to the different weather services and see if they have some kind of long range idea of whether it's going to be really hot or really cold or somewhere in between. But it could be wet and it could be dry, and that could happen in the same hour.
Sharing a similar experience over the years for people. The public buses, the shuttle, aren't always air conditioned. And it can be brutal.
They can be warm.
Thank you.
That question that popped up, is the venue air conditioned? It is. And based on what the situation last year, was a little difficult to fight that heat, but we've been assured that they've increased capacity, and it will be cool. Having said that, this could be the year that we never get out of the 50s. And they're all set to cool it down, don't need to, but they have assured us that they're going to do all they can to keep the halls cool.
Thank you, everyone. I think there's one more question from Mary Fierabend. If you could unmute yourself, Mary. Trying. Uh-oh. That mic should be live. Maybe Mary, if you could type your question in the chat, maybe Courtney can answer that for you.
Mary asked, how far is the walk? I think you said
From
about
drop off.
a mile. From the drop off. Oh, from the drop off. It should only be like a 5, max 10-minute walk.
Sorry, I just was able to unmute. So the driver, if they're just dropping off, they have to have an exhibitor pass. I only caught the tail end of that.
Yes, so if your driver is planning to drop you off inside the venue gates, they will need an exhibitor badge to come in, especially from the time of 7 a.m. to 9:59 a.m. However, if you don't have the parking pass, or they are just dropping you off, you will need to be dropped off at the Queen's Parade and then shuttled over.
Okay, thanks.
No problem.
I don't see any more hands raised. Is that all for questions, or does anybody else have a question? I don't see any more hands or hear any questions. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll be sending the presentation out along with the copies of the slides, and we'll also include our email addresses as well.
Yep.
Thank you very much. See you in a
Thank
few
you,
weeks.
everybody. Thank you. Looking forward to seeing you all in the UK shortly.